Attention gamers. If you ever played bot lane, then you've dealt with a support like this Thresh, who is just a grade A brainless douche snozzle with an IQ of maybe 6 on a good day, as he is just a walking lost and found of brain cells all game. Of course, the enemy bot lane is freaking married levels of synergistic sexual recall animations on the same page, while the lavender relationship you have with this incel consists of you watching him flay the ground and then miss hooks on stunned targets. Time after time Larry lassos a minion and then opts into flinging himself at it so that he can flay in the wrong direction, as his contribution to every encounter early game is to run around like he's playing League on a Switch 2 and didn't bind any of his abilities because he didn't want to mess with his Mario Kart settings. You've been telling your jungler all game that she has to come down and see this dipshit in person to believe someone so stupid actually exists, and when she does, he decides to not path towards tower but instead up to the one spot where they can kill him. Of course, the second there's another actual human in the picture on your team, you can first break up the marriage of these two goats and then kill the weeping widow shortly after. But this brings me to the point of the video. First item, Shuralaya's battle song on Veigar ADC is so ridiculously easy that even this Thresh could first time it and win games. Okay, maybe not this particular Thresh, but let me break down how insane having a Sivir ult on command is down here through this on use, inspiring speech.
I have a dream.
For starters, it's a perfect disengage in case George comes down looking curious and you need to get your feeding skeleton the hell out of dodge before he funds the entire enemy team. It is worth noting that skeletons don't have organs and the brain is indeed an organ, so he will likely run straight back into the danger you just asked and hauled him out of and die like a dipshit. A normal marksman that needs to be nourished and breastfed like a crying baby until 3 items would have perished until the lack of support from this alcoholic stepfather type of support behavior, but with infinite AP scaling and CC and then movement speed, I could still make Heather with the feathers disappear like a magic trick and then speed up the boys to catch her husband before he gets away with her inheritance. Before you know it, the short supportless wizard is on a rampage. Then I'm unstoppable. No, I'm godlike. Then I'm literally legendary, as 26 minutes into the game I have 700 ability power while rocking a support item that can gap close any champ with my cage, and that's basically why this is so good. Because it can excel even in the presence of players like this Thresh. But today let's cover 2 more examples of how strong this is before I log on to WoW to get ready for MoP Classic. Use my rested XP link below for the fastest MoP leveling guides on release with the biggest discount on the internet. The second game is another standard silvery low support situation that I wanted to show. The beginning of the game was fine as I held down the fort while my team got the first dragon, and then I whipped my little 4-leaf clover out and proceeded to masturbate this Gosu into meeting the clown I hired for the occasion. This was great. A fantastic start until my support, the Thresh Lantern Refugee, decided at 8 minutes and she was going to roam for absolutely no reason when we had a big advantage bot. She accomplished quite literally nothing for 3 minutes other than maybe collected some of Aloysius' slobber to sell on the black market while I had the privilege of puckering my asshole 1v2. A normal attack damage crybaby would probably flame and feed and be freaking useless for the rest of the game, but I have this gay pride pen that I can put down in honor of Pride Month to keep that tumbling twat around long enough for Chester the Jester to make another celeb shot in the Shiv department before we all cook up some calamari as a celebration. Then, since Obama's wife decides to actually stick around in her assigned lane for once, we do a little cloak of invisibility, which is the perfect time for
I have a dream.
And that dream is to desk pop an ult on that somersaulting slut, which leaves just Polly Wally Octopus alone and begging to be tied up and forced to taste the rainbow. I head mid because some ballerina extra from the movie Tron is bullying Gary the Gargoyle, so I politely ask her which month it is and then I say it's June, you homophobe, and then I show how inclusive I am by whipping a Q into Timbuktu to decorate her death. Seeing as this went well, I decide to play an encore of Ori's death. As you can see, I make no effort to aim my cage as I just want her in it, but the fight turns longer than a sloth's patience, so I get nervous and use my win fight button to put an end to it. It's worth noting that buying the battle song of Shuralaya first item would normally shaft your DPS, but on this stacking magic midget it's not a problem, as seen by this Velko's getting bitch slapped like a young Chris Brown's girlfriend. Normally a mid laner with 2 levels on an ADC results in an encounter that is more one-sided than a Mobius strip, but in this case I can just climb to the top ropes and hit a backflip cannonball onto my win fight button. We then instruct my support to crawl up the anus of our adopted Super Scuttle and then bum rush him into tower as I tie up Tumble Tits and then ask her where all her health went. But then mid-game when everyone starts ramming like headless chickens, it presents the perfect time for some inspiration.
I have a dream.
And that dream is to make an example out of this vein by showing how little counterplay there is to this bullshit on Vhagar. We get word that a wild talent covered our red buff in grape jelly and now he's trying to rub it on his nipples, and I'm just like, that's beyond fucked up, especially coming from someone who notoriously tries to hop the fence of the pride pen. So we let him know that bigots get bursted on this rift, just look at the home screen on the client. Anyways, we breach the base like it's a beach in 1944 Normandy as I'm just chucking nuclear queefs at any Tom, Dick and Harry with almost 1000 AP, and then there's rumors that Mundo goes where he pleases, so I gaslight him into pleasing to go back to Fountain. Then I'm not sure how many years ago this changed, but my mage autos hit this tower harder than a traditional right clicker could dream, so you can see example 2 of how this pick even with a roaming support ends up scaling into the end game in all areas better than a marksman. The last game is to show if building an enchanter item when you have an enchanter support results in a limp dick when it comes to the damage department, and this one starts with a surprise visit from Shish Kebab Sammy, and as you can see this was looking bleaker than Andrew Tate's chances of winning a Nobel Prize, but a little bit of flashy gameplay and I was safe. My Mexican midget received a surprise handshake, but we have good rapport with our tower, so with its help I got the double. Then because I'm stickier than an ejaculating glue stick, there's no chance in hell this anorexic gun slut was going to survive to tell the story to her grandkids one day about how her dipshit teammates fed a magical midget. Turns out that dipshit with the spear has a fragile ego, so he comes straight back down to redeem himself, but unfortunately if the grown-ups are playing, then this jinx is going to have to be sent back to bed early, as I totally survived the rest of that clip with ease. Then I decide to do a little bush cheese because everything is better with a bit of cheddar, but unfortunately I land a total of 0 abilities before saying fuck it, hitting my win fight button and watching that pale-skinned arcane character run like the wind before being put down. Nickelodeon Blitzcrank then chooses to engage in a slap battle with me in hopes of Penguin Zero commentating his gameplay one day, and it would have been a clean kill if this camping kumquat wasn't visiting my lane like he owns a fucking rental property down here. But despite the camp, we come out on top in the south, and then we migrate up north because it's hot midget summer and any tall queens who want to wrap their long legs around my chode body are going to be violently rejected. And of course I can't go anywhere without this simp and his spear trying to turn me into a leprechaun lollipop, but thankfully I put him in the playpen. Nocturne turns the lights off, and by the time they come back on all I need to do is fire one more Q for the win. Their Jinx has resorted to split pushing because she knows she can't team fight in my presence, and when I put her in the crate she runs the distance of a full marathon without touching me before peacefully leaving my sight. This is then followed by me joining the boys to kill Inspector Gadget's daughter once more, and then Nicktoons crank things, he can just run away, but it's time.
I have a dream.
A dream where roly golems do gather rust from all the moisture they get on them back in Fountain. We then get Baron with a quick appetizer of camping jungler Tar, and then since my battle song gives me passive movement speed even when it's on cooldown, I am able to catch up with this vitamin D deficient gun slut. And then mommy long legs wants this D, but she knows it would come with a taste of the rainbow, and I guess her palate doesn't like that. Kidding, she does eventually acquire the taste for said rainbow, and this play specifically shows the value of this build. As you can see, I'm caught in between more slapping hands than a chick at a ditty party, but I can just turn on the Golden Girls routine to rain on these fuckers parade. But where there's rain there's rainbows, which in this case counter floating Aladdin's ult, and with that I am a carry that just absorbed 4 ult cooldowns that were specifically used on me, and I survived, whereas most ADCs can't even survive a single auto attack. We then push down mid and I put the Blitz in a cage, which provokes his anxiety to the point where he panic runs into a wall. Deadpool draws an X to mark the spot where he will deal pitiful amounts of damage, but it ends up being enough to put the ratchet robot down. A little pre-team fight foreplay is going down, and you can see everyone rocking half chubs looking at me, but I'm beefy enough to survive a few rounds of scissor kicks before backing out. But then once the kids are distracted I hit my team with
I have a dream.
And that dream is to be able to re-engage in a fight so quickly that we can catch them off guard, clean them up, and leave their weaponized Roomba with no owners to vacuum for, leaving him with no option but to fight, and despite being close, he still falls short. A little friendly dispute over dragon custody breaks out, and Camping Carl is unsurprisingly the first to go down, swinging specifically at me. Then I put my tall queen in a box, step out to take a piss, and then return just as the rest of their team finishes prepping for their own funeral. This is great and all, but one more example is in order of how overpowered this build is. As you can see, I'm more out of position than a Jewish candle at Kanye's house, but it doesn't matter because I have 69 ways to evade everyone as they use up all their cooldowns on me, the carry. But when the carry survives to tell his grandbaby midgets, aka caster minions, the story of how the enemy team failed to gangbang a fragile carry, it ends poorly for them, and thus give the Shuraliah's Rush Vagar a try because
I have a dream.
and that dream is to show depressed ADC mains other ways to win in the role. Rav out.